All right, it might be the big show that no one shows up for. Right now, two key bears, including the one who runs this whole group that's planning to meet with the president today, is saying they're not going to meet there. Neither is Bill de Blasio in New York over the Justice Department's recent decision to crack down on so-called sanctuary cities. I need to get a legal sense of this, of what's at stake, and fortunately, Judge Napolitano is here to help me with that. They're not going to this event because of this move. Is what Justice is doing an illegal move?
Well, it's always better to talk than to have a confrontation in the streets or in the courtroom. I'm disappointed that the mayor of Los Angeles, San Francisco, New York is not going, but they make their own choices.
And the meeting is still scheduled.
Correct, correct. What the president is attempting to do is to talk local authorities into cooperating with ICE. Where are the immigrants? You guys know that are undocumented. You guys know the neighborhoods better than we do. So under the law, can the feds compel local police and local government to help them enforce federal law? The answer is clearly no. They can't stop or interfere with federal enforcement, but they cannot be commandeered, which is the Supreme Court's expression for taken away from their other jobs and put in the service of the feds. Can't do it.
All right. So if you can help me with the difference here.
Okay.
I'm at ICE, and I'm going in to track down a criminal I suspect is being hidden within New York City. How far can I go?
Okay, so you say to local authorities...
And illegal, I should point out.
Right. You say to local authorities, help us. They can refuse. You say to local authorities, where is he? They don't have to answer. But if local authorities harbor him, technical phrase meaning hide him and keep him away from the feds, that would be a felony on the part of the local authorities. So they have to be careful how far they go. They can't be forced to cooperate. They can't be forced to spend money or resources. They can't be forced to answer questions. But they also can't actively frustrate what the feds are doing, because that would be obstructing a federal government function. And anybody who does that, even under color of authority, could be prosecuted.
Could you have aid withheld, and is it legal to withhold aid to your city and or state?
Only under the following circumstance. If at the time the aid was offered, let's say here's Bill de Blasio, mayor of New York City, here's $100 million for new police cars or new computers in public school classrooms. But as a condition of the $100 million, you agree that your government will help ICE, and he accepts the money, then he has a contract and he's required to help ICE. He'll accept the money, because the states and locals are so cash-strapped, they never reject the money. But without that string attached, there's no way to force them to comply. And the money now being spent is from the last year of the Obama administration, which did not attach the "thou shalt help ICE" string.
You can lie about helping, right? You can say to get the money, you had a good analogy in the break here, they're over there when they're over here.
That would be obstruction of justice. If you send ICE on a wild goose chase in order to...
You can come back and say, I didn't know it was a wild goose.
Well, then it's a question of proof. It's a question of who a judge or a jury believes. But the active frustration of federal law enforcement is itself a crime. The passive looking the other way to federal law enforcement is not a crime.
You don't mind me switching gears a little bit. Bob Mueller wants to talk to the president. Already talked to Jeff Sessions. Reports that he's going to re-question Steve Bannon. Where's all this going?
Well, the special counsel, Bob Mueller, is probably looking at obstruction of justice. So here's an example. Hey, Jim Comey, lay off of Mike Flynn, because the FBI has more issues with bank robbers and mobsters and terrorists, and your resources are spread thin. Perfectly within the president's authority. Hey, Jim Comey, lay off of Mike Flynn, because I'm worried about what he might tell you about me or about my son-in-law. That would be an interference with a prosecution for a corrupt purpose. Well, he wouldn't say it, but he might think it. He might have said it to somebody else. So if the purpose is pure, the president can direct the director of the FBI. If the purpose is corrupt, then the president's behavior is arguably obstruction of justice.
All right, you're also a very good lawyer. If you were advising the president of the United States and your legal team is being told Mueller wants to talk to you, sir. What would you say?
Run from it. It's an extremely dangerous environment. There's an old one-liner that criminal defense lawyers use. Don't talk to a guy that owns a grand jury. He owns the grand jury. He controls the grand jury. He's not there to be Mr. Nice Guy. He's there to see if he can trick, trap, or stump the president. The president's a smart guy, and he has a very high opinion of his ability to deal with others. He sometimes uses more words than are necessary. I'm trying to be a little diplomatic here. That would be grist for Bob Mueller's mill. He couldn't possibly know, the president couldn't possibly know as much about the case as Mueller, his prosecutors, and his FBI agents do. And he may stumble into an area where he contradicts himself, contradicts others, and they could charge him with lying. Remember, he's not under oath. He's not before a grand jury. But a simple lie told in that environment, like Mike Flynn, General Flynn, and George Papadopoulos, can result in an indictment for lying to federal authorities in an official investigation.
But we've had 15 of 16, maybe more, interviewed or talked to. Do you get a sense that this could be wrapping up or no?
I don't.
You don't?
I don't think it's wrapping up. The president's lawyers told him in the summer it's going to be over by Thanksgiving. It's now January.
Right.
I think it's going to continue to go on. And some of the things that the House Intelligence Committee has unearthed about this will likely extend it as well. I don't think the president will shorten it. Now, I know his personality. I know he is determined to talk to Bob Mueller. He thinks he can talk Mueller into focusing his efforts elsewhere. Don't think that way. It's a very dangerous environment. Stay away from it. That would be my advice, and probably the advice of a majority of lawyers. There were some who would say, you have nothing to hide, go there.
Right.
You made promises that you're going to go there to the public. You're going to go there talk to Bob Mueller. Stick with those promises, but I think it's too fraught with danger for him to go there.
Wise words from a very smart man.
We'll see what happens.
In Princeton, where they accept, I think, fewer than 5% of the applicants.
In
that group, fewer than 5% make it big in life. He did. So I'm just telling you, it was 5% were the people who didn't get into high school. A little more to this.
My mother's loving it.
Exactly. Let's see it.